the gate, I want to talk a little bit about how you've been at the forefront as Gentle Giant. We'll separate this because we're sort of coming into it. Gentle Giant was at the forefront of toy collectibles, 3D rapid prototyping market for a number of years. You've brought so many memorable characters to life. What are some of the more memorable moments for you career-wise?
There's so much to derive from, but going out on movie sets and digitizing the actors to create the databases for visual effects and the toys and products has been pretty exciting, because you travel the world and go on set in Australia for Star Wars, New Zealand for Lord of the Rings, and going to the UK for Harry Potter. So some of those experiences have been at the top.
Sweet deal. And that's basically, and you're actually involved in the toy end of things.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
How did you get your start in this?
Well, I started a long time ago in a mold shop in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Okay.
But I mean,
you're a long way from Hoboken.
Yeah. The highlight for me, in all honesty, I'm not quite as epic as some of these guys, is making these action figures, like making Spider-Man, a toy that I can play with in the bathtub.
Something that is a social. I think that's the most interesting thing, is that collectively as a group, Scott being new to the fold and the mix, over the course of these years, you've brought to life some IPs that they're physical, you can hold them, people can collect them, but they are these cultural icons. Spider-Man is like this thing that is born of the 60s, still relevant today. Is there any pressure?
I don't know. I feel plenty of pressure, but it doesn't have to do with that specifically. I'm kind of thinking as you had asked that question previously of what really stands out, and I'm thinking, going to these places and seeing these movies shot and looking at the incredible work that Weta does, or the art department that's on Harry Potter has done. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that really gets you going. But the people that you meet are really amazing, and being able to work with certain people and meet and become friends with certain people. And I had the opportunity to become friends with Ray Harryhausen and visit him every time I went to London. And we scanned a lot of his puppets and even took a license and created some of his figurines. But I would sit down and talk with Ray in his sitting room about the weather and politics. And through being friends with Ray, I became friends with people like Rick Baker and Richard Taylor, and that's
formative figures at the base of everything that we're doing, really.
And supportive people that have been through things. I was thinking this morning, do I have a mentor? And I don't really have a mentor. I don't have somebody that showed me how, but I have support out there in other people that do similar things.
That's interesting to hear you say that, I think, because you were there in the beginning, as a sort of industry leader and even this new technology, adopting the new technology. But to hear you say that is interesting. And so today, a lot of people look to you as a mentor. If you're aware of that, I'm not sure.
That's pretty cool. I would definitely attribute any value that I have to just being able to recognize people that are more talented than myself, and because I'm mediocre at best when it comes to being an artist. I am not technical. I have an ability to work with people that are difficult to work with, or have their own
quirks. We'll call them quirks. So in that vein, though, speaking of one, on the end we have Pauly Schreier. Actually, let's pass the mic over to you now that we've got you feeling talkative. There he is. Most people who know you would immediately recognize you from your role on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. If we could talk about that for a brief second and say that is also a cultural sort of icon from a period of time. You were the longest standing member of the cast. Tell us about that and how you got started in that vein of your career. And now you find yourself at the forefront of this stuff, which I find fascinating. The guy is like, the forefront of what was cool and is still a cool series of characters. How do you occupy two spaces like that?
I don't know. When you have a face like this, and you're younger, people keep telling you, and you live in LA, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing acting,
Right.
you need to be, a performer. And then you try it, and then people suddenly like you, and girls are not disinterested
It's a hate,
anymore
Paulie.
suddenly. And but like really in our lives there are many acts, and being able to conceive of the next act of your life is sometimes a difficult thing, and sometimes but usually a good thing.
Okay.
And there, I reached a moment after 10 years on the Power Rangers series where it was time to go, and I was disinclined to continue being a John Belushi character actor freelance kind of guy, after playing Farkas Bulkmeyer for so long.
Right.
And then when I was introduced to Carl by Christian Gossett,
Okay.
and had the wonderful opportunity to come and become a studio grip at Gentle Giant, and sweeping up stuff and cleaning bathrooms, and instead of what would you like in your coffee, Mr. Schreier, it became, is this bathroom clean enough, Mr. Meyer?
Right.
And
I'd like to interject with that because I read the other day an article with a guy who was he was listed as one of the most one of the highest grossing directors in Hollywood over the last couple of years, his personal income at least. And he was talking about some of the jobs he had, and he was saying how, hey, I did all kinds of things. You kidding me? I don't say no to a job. I just do it. And so I think that's a testament to sort of your character. A strong character,
Well, and there's an insular nature to show business. When you're
Right.
working as a performer for a long time, you lose touch with reality because there's always people there to assist you and to help you, and you only seem to socialize with people that are within your little sphere.
Right, in that segment.
And so getting away from that and learning business process and becoming a coordinator and then a manager and then a manager of managers at Gentle Giant, it's a great place because I still get to create every day.
Right.
I just don't have to take pies in the face anymore,
Fair enough.
usually. And it's a new frontier. And really with the whole 3D printing revolution in our culture, I mean, it's everywhere, right? I mean, in the media we're seeing it constantly. And what it points to is a moment where we're going to be, in space or on Mars, crafting parts out of Martian material to help colonists.
Right.
That's the future, and that's the coolest place to be. And so I feel like I'm in exactly the right spot at the right time, and with the performance background, it equips me to be able to communicate with the world on behalf of 3D Systems and Gentle Giant.
I think that would be something that people would immediately recognize and say, yes, this gentleman is a very strong communicator, a very articulate man. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. Stop it, out of control. No, but I mean, I think that you are a great representative for, first of all, a lesson and a moral in the story is that there is nothing that is beneath you that you should work hard, and that if you're smart enough to put yourself in the company of greatness, then great things will happen, period.
Carl is really great at that. Right? Carl has amazing timing.
Right.
And
We were talking about that off camera, by the way, waiting for you.
He's got a prescient kind of 5-year ability to forecast the way things are going to go. And I've seen it over and over and over, and it's pretty impressive. He's a maker of rain, and I often use analogies with other titans of the entertainment industry, which Carl's very uncomfortable with. He doesn't really like me making those analogies, but Carl, you've facilitated so many wonderful artists, and you've made so many things come to life that there's a great deal of respect out there in the world for you, and I'm a booster.
I think he said he did. Yeah, you absolutely have facilitated. I mean, with the Noman experience, myself being an alumnus of the program as well, I think that the connection between the Noman School of Visual Effects and yourself and your company throughout the years has been instrumental. But you've often had this ability, an uncanny ability, to select these guys who are, being touted here as really great, and been able to sort of secure them on your team. There's something to be said about that. Is assembling a great team is a gift.
It's never just that easy. Where for us, I feel spoiled because having the relationship with Noman has made it that easy to where it's like, we need more modelers. Call up Noman.
Right. and we have a symbiotic relationship that way with them as well because they're teaching our product, and so it's just a sort of trickle down effect that finds its way in your workflow.
And Pixel Logic as well, and ZBrush being a very powerful tool, and community, like we said earlier, it's right there for us.
So we've mentioned community a lot throughout the day, through the talk here as well. And
Community and culture.
Yeah, community and culture. And I think that we are, the ZBrush culture, the ZBrush Central Forum has, hundreds of thousands of members. We're very blessed. We're waving to all of you at home around the world in the four corners, from the gates of St. Pete all the way here to Hollywood. I mean, I think we're really blessed to have that kind of, we are living, breathing proof that there's a lifestyle brand of this digital sculpting movement, and we're really happy to be sort of the software of choice in so much for you. Scott Turner's joining us today, and he's joining us from 3DSystems. Everyone under the umbrella of 3DSystems now, we'll clarify that as well.
Yes.
What can you tell us about this recent acquisition, and what does this provide 3DSystems going forward?
So 3D printing doesn't exist without digital assets. And ZBrush is such a creative tool, an amazing tool. Carl, the artist there at Gentle Giant, all the digital assets they have, I mean, they've just allowed us to kind of take the next step in what's possible. As we're inventing, next iterations of printers with capabilities and materials and color, I mean, there's really going to be a digital life. And, I can foresee an avatar of everybody, so you can have personal products. And there just aren't tools out there that you can create that today beyond ZBrush. So I'm excited to be here and talking to this community and trying to inspire artists to go that extra mile, make the data as though you're going to print it someday, because someday you are. And
How long have you been in this industry?
Thanks for asking. That was my next call. I was going, hey, listen. That's fine. Yeah. Over to you, Carl. So that's the next logical conclusion is how long have you been doing this, and how did you get started in this this wonderful business?
Yeah, so I heard about an invention while I was in college in the 80s.
Okay.
And I joined 3DSystems as their first training instructor in 1988.
Ladies and gentlemen, first training instructor.
Yeah, so I've been printing 3D printing for about 26 years. And so back then the challenge was there just wasn't data. So we had to literally be missionaries and inspire people to model things because now they could get them. And I think the invention of 3D printing combined with what happened in computer graphics, really sparked that revolution and created demand for 3D data. And so companies went from using 2D drawing packages to 3D modeling, and now that's aspired into 3D digital sculpting. And in order to take advantage of that, we have to incorporate full color and things like that into our printing technologies, and that's exciting to me today.
So we can hang on for the full color stuff forthcoming, more sophisticated full color stuff happening in the home on my desk.
Yes, materials, color, visualization, blurring the fabrication and visualization of digital artistry. That's really what's inspired me to go to work every day.
So I just wanted to say
Take that,
something.
Mike.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, the percentage for 3DSystems of this entertainment slice that, what we're doing here now applies to, what is that into the scope of 3DSystems?
Yeah, well, how does that fall into the scope
And
of 3D
basically
systems?
what I'm saying is, what have you been doing for the last 30 years? And what have we been doing for the last 30 years? And what's the bigger picture? Because I don't know if everybody knows just how impactful and important this technology has been and where it's going as far as aerospace and automotive and medical and
prototyping for all sorts of things.
Yeah, so 30 years ago there wasn't data. People were inspired, the real driver was rapid prototyping, being able to get samples of products that are going to be injection molded or manufactured conventionally in a quick amount of time. Surprisingly, though, very early on, medical was discovered. So back in 1989, I was involved in a project at UCLA, and we printed the first CAT scan data ever. And it was just amazing. And medical, personal medicine, personal products have always been aspiring to me. So since that time, we've literally gone from industry to industry, provided the dividends to invest in 3D modeling, and then moved on to the next thing. So, for example, today, people's braces, they don't have braces, they have aligners.
Right.
And that technology is enabled by, 3D printing, one of our technologies.
I want to speak to that a minute. I want to talk about, I was actually there when they launched the Cube in person, and I was immediately moved by this. CEO Abraham Reichenthal, I hope I'm saying that correctly, he gave a talk at the launch. Avi, we'll just call him Avi. Avi gave a talk, and I was fortunate enough to be there along with Jaime and Paul for the Cube, and what he spoke of was the gamification process of 3D printing and how there was this concept of, he wanted to gamify 3D printing to make it like something that everyone could do. What can you tell us about that? This is a company-wide ethos, obviously, that runs deep.
Yeah, so I mean, now we look at gaming because gaming is 3D data, visualization. That data can drive printers. But we didn't have printers that were affordable enough and easy enough to use to provide to consumers to sit next to their gaming station. So we kind of took the next step beyond just hobbyists and makers, where you had to set temperatures and have some idea of what the machine, how it operated, be able to fix it or assemble it, and provide a product that was plug and play. So you didn't get the opportunity to set that temperature the way it was, or specify how it drew the insides of a part. But we took that away so that a broader audience could use the product. And I think that's the idea. Is you look at young people today, and gaming inspires them, and it consumes some of their interests, and it's 3D. And so we need to give them a portal to get that world out of the computer and into their home. And that's what the Cube's about.
It's very inspiring. If you haven't checked it out, you need to check it out. That brings me to the next logical conclusion. At that demo, you'll get a kick out of this. I think we spoke briefly earlier. There was a Les Paul printed guitar. And I was thoroughly moved. I said, whoa, this is something else. I mean, they had this wonderful sort of chamber body and all these sort of things happening with it. And the woman picked it up and started strumming away, and she rocked out for a little while. I think that when you see those types of everyday products being produced, then you start to get into a place where like every person can consider it. It's like, hey, I could customize my own Les Paul. Who doesn't want to do that? I mean, that to me is the next logical step as well in giving people an opportunity to customize their lives. I think that's what we were talking about earlier in the main room with that concept.
Yeah, one of the big questions that comes up with 3D printing is why?
Right.
Why would I want that when I can get this over here?
Right.
And at this point, maybe it makes sense to go ahead and get that one over there. But
Sure.
Going forward, I believe that people are going to want to be able to have personalization and make it individual and incorporate their individuality,
Inject their own personality.
into everyday items or anything, or be able to have a selection that is beyond what a Walmart is going to put in front
Absolutely.
of you. I mean, we talk about this all the time because we live and breathe.
Yeah, as do we. I mean, at our office, we're clamoring and fighting over, who's going to be using the machine next. I mean, we're like, come on, let's get out of the way. I need to use it. There's like some hostilities also. You see the look in my eye.
We have many mantras at 3D, and one of them is, it's not a question of what will your home have a 3D printer in it.
Right.
It is what room will you have it in.
Yeah, that's for sure. We saw that with gaming. I want to detract for a moment and talk about the idea of technology and how it comes into your life, and at first it seems very sort of out there, like Star Wars. You say, how can I use this? We've seen that with gaming, like video gaming, go from this back room where it was male-centric, and now it's become this very living room type experience where it's become a home console becomes this entertainment center for family fun and friendship and parties. I think that's sort of where we're at right now. It's in the bedroom, for the most part. We're hanging out in our little workshops, making things happen. But before long, the trend historically is that it'll end up in a main stage in the home, playing a role, maybe making a mailbox. We've been having this conversation at my house. It's like my wife and I say, hey, maybe we could have a 3D printed mailbox. She says, when's that mailbox coming, LT? And I say, how do you feel about that? Do you think that's an accurate representation of what could be happening? Paulie's smiling. He's got a big grin.
Unless you were Days Gone.
No,
I hope not. I mean, that's not to sort of speak to my interviewing capacity. I hope.
He has incredible insight and
well, we all want control. And we all, I mean, every one of us is a kind of a control freak, and that's the root of that gaming turns into entertainment for the whole family in the front room. It's not a thing you have to hide anymore. And ultimately, with new interfaces and new technologies, we're going to be able to affect not just a play environment, but a life environment. It's already happening where you can connect your devices to your home, and you can start the coffee before you even leave the bed. That type of stuff. And a moment ago, we were talking about, why would people want to choose a 3D printed item over a item that's been mass manufactured for consumption?
Right.
And I have the answer. And the answer is, you look at the last 10 years in this whole hipster culture, right? It's only cool if nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
Well, you want to be a next level hipster? My stuff is so cool, nobody knows about it except me.
Right.
Next level. Think about it.
Which is a trend with all art. We talked at the very, very beginning of this presentation in the main room about art and the place of art, and you say, hey, I think there's a tacit reality to printing something because I've done it and I've held my own work, and there's a newfound attachment that you feel taking something from a napkin drawing that you were doodling during a meeting, let's say, and then you go to your office and you sculpt it in ZBrush, and then you hit print and you go and you can hold it several hours later. I think that's like...
As a 3D modeler myself, the first time that I was allowed or given the opportunity to 3D print one of my own models was kind of a full-on 100% geek out moment.
Yeah.
Like, I lost it just to see, and it was Cinderella's Castle, actually, is what it was. I built Cinderella's Castle for a consumer products project at Gentle Giant in the very beginning when I was there 10 years ago.
Right.
And somebody was like, hey, that's a good model. Let's print that for this PVC set. And when it came out, it was like the precious.
Like a child, yeah. You say, hey,
I don't want to hand it over. I wanted to just play with it, So, come on, craft your worlds, man. Get on it. Make some stuff.
I think that's the running theme across already a day and a half of the ZBrush Summit here live, is that there's this idea of people are really enamored with the concept of taking it off the screen and now holding it. It's back off of camera, on camera, through the building.
I watched a lot of the other presentations
cool.
streaming, which was just incredible to be able to be at work and
Thanks for saying that.
and watch Legacy do their thing
Right.
and hear them share a lot of things that I went, yeah, that's it. They're like saying things, like they didn't know how to describe what they did. We don't even know how to describe what we do. We couldn't begin. And I went, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a business like we're in, you pretty much don't say no to anything until you've exhausted that there's no way you could possibly do it. Because it's every job is a challenge.
Right.
And I did hear a lot of people talking about 3D printing, and it really put a smile on my face because, we've been at this a long time, and it's just the way things are done now, and it's because it is a smarter way. And when we first started doing 3D printing and 3D scanning, we took a lot of heat creating products, action figures and collectibles using this technology, because it was lifeless and it didn't have soul, but it was going through a period. I saw it as it had authenticity and it was real geometry, and by the time it's manufactured in China and hits the shelf, it's been butchered anyways. So it's really rewarding to see it being accepted and embraced, because I took a huge leap of faith in the early years, going on almost 20 years ago, to spend a lot of money buying this technology. And believe me, it wasn't easy. We've had a lot of bumps in the road and a lot of failed builds, but here we are now, and it's what everybody's using.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say a true champion in that regard. Even mentioning our friends at Legacy as well, is you are pushing the envelope, and so to say that I don't say that lightly either. It's a real pleasure.
And that's why, I came almost full circle with 3DSystems. I mean, they're the first company. Chuck Hull invented the technology.
Who I met, actually. That was a very humbling experience.
Very, very cool guy.
Yeah.
And about 16 years ago, I went and spoke on behalf and presented for 3D Systems in Hong Kong and Tokyo, basically promoting Hollywood and entertainment and how it fits into 3D printing and 3D systems, and it's kind of come full circle. And it wasn't this past Comic-Con, but the Comic-Con before it, that I saw that they were there and they were doing some color printing, and I got my hands on it and I looked at it, and I thought, okay, this doesn't meet our standards because we're Gentle Giant and our standards are way up here. But I looked at it and went, oh my God, this is coming.
Right.
And
you hear that train coming. You know,
the train has left the station, and we're not ones to sit around and be affected by this. And then I was, I shared the news with others, and there was excitement that came out. Now I'll hand it over to Adam here because
I'm excited. I'm excited right now.
It recognized the ceiling has been opened up, and now there is no ceiling, and you can grab any number of things and run with it and be a champion.
I think we'd like to thank you for that because we're absolute contemporaries, same age, and I think that we can say thanks for all of the legwork.
The Hoboken, New Jersey place I worked at, Gentle Giant was around, and we were like, that's amazing.
Well, I got to throw credit out there to a lot of people that have come and gone from Gentle Giant as well. Guys like Steve Chapman, who was very, very innovative and is responsible for many of the breakthroughs that exist today in connecting the dots with 3D scanning, 3D sculpting, and 3D printing.
So fair to say an organizer of people, good people, is probably your forte, and having the ability to bring them together and maximize their output.
And there's been many other people. I was glad that you guys decided to throw the props out to some of the digital artists that have come through.
All the way around.
And I'm thinking, wow, there's got to be more than that too. I mean, I'm sure we're missing. There's at least 5 that I went. We didn't mention these guys, but
Paulie and I were scribbling notes right at the last minute.
So apologies to anybody that didn't get mentioned, but anything that has been done here has always been a collective, and really is about
community.
People surrounding themselves with people that are better than them and replacing themselves with people that are better than them.
Living by
and
it.
some people move on and go take their magic elsewhere.